Hey guys, what's up? MadSeason here, back with another video in my Legion Brawlers Guild Guide. In this video, I'll be covering all of the rank 6 bosses, and that's Tops, Millie Watt, Carl, and the Ogrewatch crew. If you only need a certain one, check the description because I'll have some timestamps in there. And as always, as a point of reference, I'm doing this as an eye level 875-ish arcane mage, so if you have anything close to that, you should have a similar experience. And for all of these fights, I recommend picking up flasks, DPS food, and most importantly, heroism drums. Check the nearby vendor for DPS and healing potions if you need them. And if you need to eke out as much damage as possible, make sure you also pick up a potion of the Old War or Deadly Grace because they don't share cooldowns with the Brawler's potion of Prolonged Power. And make sure you use them before the fight begins. This way you can use 3 in total, with another one being 1 minute after you use the first 2. And one last thing to note is that all of these fights do have enrage timers, so just keep in mind that you do need a fair amount of damage to be able to beat them. So far it looks like it's 2 minutes for all of them. Anyways, first up we have Tops. Just one mechanic to worry about in this fight, and that's his Dino Dash. This is a bolt charge, and it'll one-shot you if you get hit by it, so make sure that you dodge it. He lines it up at the start of his cast, so you can move out pretty early. Once he does miss, he'll hit the wall and get stunned for 12 seconds, taking plus 50% damage for the duration. So if you can, this is when you want to use your DPS cooldowns to maximize your damage. And that's pretty much the whole fight. He will try to mix it up and speed up his charge and also not get stunned when he hits the wall, so try not to get into a rhythm and get caught off guard. Sometimes it takes 3 misses for him to get stunned, so you just gotta be on your toes and react accordingly. Fight number 2 is Millie Watt. Pretty rough DPS race here. Her main ability is called Photoplasm Buster Ray. This is just some uninterruptible steady damage that you have to tank. She'll also throw out some electric dynamite, which leaves a pool of electricity under your feet. This is interruptible, but you always want to have at least one of these up because we'll need it for the next ability, the Mega Fantastic Discombobulmorphinator. This is a polymorph, and if you stay in it too long, it's a one-shot. So to get around this, right before she finishes the cast, you need to jump into the electric pool so the damage breaks you, and then immediately run out. And that's it for the mechanics. The only other thing you have to worry about is DPS racing her down before the enrage hits, which is pretty difficult if you lack the gear. Next up we have Carl. This is a giant magma worm. He'll periodically burrow and resurface throughout the fight, spewing lava at you the entire time. The only mechanic you have to worry about are the pools of lava that he leaves on the ground. These deal heavy damage if you stand on them, and they'll shoot out waves of lava throughout the fight. He'll drop multiple ones, so the longer the fight goes on, the more difficult they'll be to dodge. And another troublesome thing is that if a fire wave hits another lava pool, it'll trigger it to shoot out more waves. So you basically want to take him down before it gets too crazy. So pile on the damage and be on your toes and you should be fine. And lastly for rank 6 we have the Ogrewatch crew. This is a really tough fight for casters. You have 3 opponents here, Hudson who's a reference to Winston from Overwatch, Stuffed Shrew who's a reference to Junkrat, and Dupree who's a reference to McCree. Hudson will repeatedly cast Tesla Cannon on you, which does some pretty decent damage. You're going to want to interrupt it as much as you can. It has a really long range and he leaps to you, so you can't really kite him either. Stuffed Shrew is the most annoying for any casters out there. He'll throw out bombs which deal very high damage if you get hit by him, and you'll also cast Maniacal Laugh which deals some heavy damage if you're near him. So he's basically there to make it so you never really have a moment to cast anything. And the last one is Dupree, who will be casting High Noon the entire fight. It has a 1 minute 20 second cast time, it's uninterruptible, and it'll one-shot you when he finishes it. They'll start off the fight under Hudson's shield. To break this, you just have to deal damage to him. So use any AoE you have to burn that down to start the real fight. I hear you can also stun them and that stops it too, so you can also try that. I can't confirm that though. So all 3 of them are really troublesome, and the strategy is going to depend on your class. Obviously Dupree is high on the list because he has that 1 minute 20 second cast insta-kill, but Stuffed Shrew is really troublesome as well if you're a class that can't deal damage on the move. So the best way to go about this in my opinion is if you have enough AoE or cleave damage to beat Dupree's timer is to just do that. And at the same time making sure you interrupt Hudson when you can and dodge all of Stuffed Shrew's explosions. This is a strategy that suits melee more. Else if you're a ranged class that has trouble dealing damage on the move, Stuffed Shrew is going to be your top priority so you can actually deal some damage. As long as you're interrupting Hudson, you want to save him for last since he's more annoying than anything else. And another thing to note is that if you have any immune spells such as Ice Block or Divine Shield, you can completely avoid Dupree's High Noon. So if that's the case, you can save him for last and put your focus on the other 2, as long as you have your timing down. So it's a really tough fight, and it's when you start realizing what the best classes for the Brawlers Guild are, and that's classes who can easily deal damage while moving. You can just outgear it eventually, but if you're a melee spec, you definitely will have an easier time with a lot of these fights, including this one. So in summary, if you have enough AoE damage, just use that, making sure to avoid Stuffed Shrew's various explosions at the same time. And if you can't deal damage on the move, put your focus on Stuffed Shrew while also keeping a high priority on Dupree as well. Also interrupt Hudson when you can, and if you have Ice Block, Divine Shield, or some other immune spell, use that to cheese Dupree's High Noon. And with that, you should have moved up to rank 7 with the Brawlers Guild. As always, I wish you luck with these fights, and I'll see you in the rank 7 video. I hope you found this video helpful. Give it a like if you liked it, and if you really liked it, let me know in the comments and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching, good luck, and peace.